Yeah, I think, it's always the creative financing solution. I wish I would have accelerated that more. I wish I would have done some more fix and flips when I saw the opportunity, especially in that COVID market. It was like, when I say deep value add, I mean, we're kicking homeless people out of a lot of these units that, they're run down. They don't have electric. They don't, have any water. But
What I also tell people is that as a real estate agent, you're gonna build. There's so much more. Like I've had clients be private money lenders for me. I've had clients refer me flips. I've had clients refer me just like a bunch of different things that it's like, oh man, it's actually like a good way to learn the business as you become more experienced and you can invest. Now, let me ask you this: like knowing what you know now, what are some of the things that you wish you would have learned earlier in your career? Because at the beginning of my career, what happened to me is I took a lot of training from the real estate agent route, but I took very little training on the investment side. I would buy a rental property, I put 20% down on the rental property and just let it sit. And then
right.
as I started learning more about investments, I'm like, oh man, like you can do subject twos, you can do burr strategy, you can do like private money, you can just a lot more creative. And I'm like, wow, like hard money loans, I didn't know about any of that when I got started. What are some of the things that like you wish you would have maybe learned earlier that would have helped you earlier on in your career?
Sure. Yeah, I think, it's always the creative financing solutions, I think, that are probably the most applicable when you're getting started. You're, especially as a real estate agent, I'm sure a lot of them know that maybe don't have a second job whenever they start, but it's hard to buy a property in those first 2 years because the bank wants to see your income and they don't trust your commissions until you've been steady with those for a couple years. So, I really dug into the some of the creative financing types of solutions. But to your point, I was very focused on like maybe one strategy when I first got started. That was, like you said, the buy and hold. I wish I would have accelerated that more. I wish I would have done some more fix and flips when I saw the opportunity. Especially in that COVID market, it was like I kind of kick myself now for not. The demand was so high that you could almost name your price, and I was still like in my lane on buy and hold. This is what's going to make me, a millionaire by 35, and it did work well for me. But there's other tools that you can have in your tool belt. And when you walk into a property, now you have multiple ways to make that deal work. It's not just, oh, this isn't a good buy and hold investment, so I'm not going to touch it. You could start to kind of finesse different ways to do things. So that's probably the major one is just making sure that you're learning enough that maybe you've got one strategy at that point, but you're able to kind of add those techniques to your tool belt and be able to capitalize on more deals than you would have if you were just focused on one.
It's funny because I heard a guy online say there's fast money and slow money. Fast money can be the flip or the realtor money. The slow
Absolutely.
money is the buy and hold, which over time, if you hold it over enough time, then that basically helps build wealth over an extent. But that's a really slow form of capital. I did the same exact thing where I held a lot more than I flipped earlier on in my career. And I didn't even know about hard money loans till 2017. I was already like 5 or 6 years into the business before I
Right.
learned about hard money loans. Okay, so now you've gotten more into like even like multifamily, right? Like larger apartment complex. Tell us about that transition and some of the benefits of doing that.
Sure. Yeah. I love multifamily. I mean, it's people look at it, they think it's a little scarier than the traditional single family stuff, but once you really boil it down, it's very similar. And it's actually less risky, when you look at the numbers and the economies of scale and things along those lines. But, like we mentioned, we started out buying a lot of single family homes. We were doing some light renovations. We were putting tenants in them, letting them appreciate, letting the tenants pay down the mortgage. And that was great up until COVID times and a little bit thereafter, when rates started to increase, prices had already increased drastically. So it became harder and harder to find those houses that only need $10,000 worth of work to be able to put a renter in there long term, and make it cash flow. It was, the prices had gone up however much percent, and rates were at 7 to 8%. It was almost impossible to find a slightly turnkey single family house. So we started looking at our portfolio. I think we had 20 properties at that time. And we said, look, these have appreciated quite a bit over the last 6 or 7 years. And we started looking at some multifamily deals on the market. Even with that market, it's hard to just jump into like a turnkey multifamily market. But throughout that first 5 to 7 years, we had built up a list of contractors. We had started the property management company. So we had in-house maintenance crews. So it gave us a little bit more confidence to look at deeper value add multifamily stuff. And our bread and butter right now is really like between 6 to 30 unit deep value add multifamily. So, a lot of them that we're purchasing, it's either too big of a project for the small mom and pop investors in our area, or it's too small. There's not enough unit count there for the larger, like, institutional guys to fool with. So there's this kind of, sweet spot in between that, yeah, that we've jumped into. And, when I say deep value add, I mean, we're kicking homeless people out of a lot of these units that, they're run down. They don't have electric. They don't, have any water, but we've got the crews to come in and buy that at a steep discount, get it fixed up, get it, back to where it's pretty much turnkey, feeling brand new. And then our property management company will come in and lease it out. And those, anybody that knows how cap rates work, like, you take something that's that distressed and then, add 10 people that are cash flowing the property now, the values are like, the equity multiples a lot of times are like 200, 300% of what we're purchasing. So it's been a really good strategy. And I think that's kind of our bread and butter to really grow the portfolio that way.